Dangar Stu again. The first project I'm going to do on this YouTube channel is build a stand for putting an outboard on when you're servicing it in the workshop. So the stand I'm going to be making is sort of loosely based on a plan that's sort of common. If you Google it on the internet, you'll see a plan that looks something like that. I don't know if you can see that. All kudos to whoever made this one. Internet dude somewhere. I'm going to make a slightly different version because on a bit of a budget, so I've gone through the garden and just picked out bits of timber I have available. So the version I'm going to show you is very much sort of a product of what I had to work with. Timber work isn't a big part of what this channel is going to be about, but given this is a useful part of marine servicing, I thought we'd start here. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so I've got to confess I've actually had a bit of a head start on this one. I actually started cutting some of the timber for this before I decided to film it. So what we've got so far is some 6x2 LVL, which is a sort of a laminated timber. I don't know if you can see that, but reasonably strong and good for this job. The design I'm after is one where we have a base plate, then this laminated paste will actually be a brace, and then over here I've got the actual part that the outboard's going to sit on this way. These angles are a little bit trial and error. You can measure it. I've got this tilted probably about 15 degrees back rather than having it completely plumb as the original design had. And then, so essentially I've just cut a 15 here, I'll show you this way, and then cut these two angles just to match so that it ends up with a flat horizontal base. Probably the most interesting thing about this is notching this half. The original design I saw used a piece of timber this way and then another piece on here to give you the lip for the cross members to rest on. But I ended up just notching this one. It's actually a nice piece of old hardwood, so it's going to be quite strong. But what I will do is I'll just grab another piece and show you this technique, because it's quite a useful technique for a variety of woodworking projects. Okay, so it's actually quite straightforward. All you need to do is figure out how deep you want to cut this. So in this case, let me grab a square, not be lazy, hang on. Okay. So, all I want to do is figure out how far back I want my notch to come, then how deep I want the notch to be. So in this case, let's make it about that deep. And this is the bit we're going to take out. So to do this, we're going to use just a standard circular saw, handheld circular saw, and chisel and hammer essentially. So what we do is we take the circular saw, just loosen the wing nut here that allows us to adjust, running away, adjust the base plate here, and then we're just going to adjust that base plate. I don't know if you can see this, let me show you more. Adjust the base plate here until the saw blade, the tips of the saw, just cuts to this depth. So this is the depth we want. Okay. Once we've got that, just tighten it up so the base plate's locked. Next step is just to transfer this line across the top. So this is the section we're removing, so we just want to know how far we're coming this way. So just use your square to mark that. Then all we need to do is do parallel, well, it doesn't have to be back here actually, just quite a few cuts across the top here that'll come down to the depth of the line we've got here. So I'll just do those now and I'll show you when that's done. Okay. That's so you can hear me. So what you end up with is a series of cuts through just to the depth of the line. So this is the original line we had here, and you can see they're pretty close to that depth, and stopping where we want. Next step's pretty straightforward. Just grab a hammer, which I think I would have brought with me, but I didn't. Hang on again. Okay, found it finally. Then with these, all we need to do is knock them out. They'll all come off pretty easily. Bits and pieces won't, that's alright. Then after that, just grab a chisel and just knock these last bits out. So there you go. So that's the technique we're after, and that's the technique I used to make this section. And these are going to be 2 uprights, and this is the section where I'm going to bolt this through, and this is the part the outboard's actually going to clamp onto. Okay, so the technique I'm going to use for putting this all together is I'm going to use some reasonably good screws that'll make it through the 2 inches and a modest amount into the mating piece. I'm also going to glue them, so I'm going to glue and screw this. This is some international epi-glue epoxy. Probably slightly overkill for this, but coming from a boating background, just happened to be what's lying around here. You could use a standard wood glue, I guess. I'd probably go an epoxy if you can get one, but you can certainly probably get cheaper epoxy than epi-glue. But I think it just needs a strength given the weight of the outboards that are sitting on this. Okay, so on second thought, I'm actually going to use slightly longer screws because I'm going to come through this way, and I'm going to make these 2 upright brackets first. This timber was actually a bit thicker this way, so I just needed that extra length to get into the support. I'm just going to build this on the ground, just using the edge of a sheet of ply on the floor here as a kind of a straight edge, because once these are flat, I can just make them like this. Then I think I'll put the essentially what's the false transom supports across, and that'll give it a bit of structural ability, and then I can stand it up and start putting the base on. So to drill these, I'm going to use one of these little sort of quick drive. This is essentially a drill bit that's just a good diameter so that it allows the shaft to go through but still leaves a bit of thread to bite into it, and then it's a quick swap for the hex drive bit that pushes them in. So I'm going to go ahead and make those, and then we'll stand it up and I'll show you that done. Okay, so it turns out these screws, the threaded portion is part in this timber and part in the other, which means by the time they come together, the screw's got no ability to actually pull 2 pieces of timber together tightly. So I'm actually going to take these screws back out and just clamp them properly before I start, so there isn't a gap. If this bit of timber was less than that distance, it'd be no problem, because as this bit, it would just pull the 2 together. Because the gap in the timber actually lies halfway through the thread, the screws, doesn't matter how tight you make it, it's never going to pull the timber together. So I'm going to take them out, clamp them properly, then put it back in. Okay, so getting those out was much harder than I hoped it would be. I'm also going to, because of the transom pieces come hard against there, I'm also going to grab like a 10 or 12 mil drill bit and just drill down into the start of these hole a little bit, just so that I can recess the head of the bolt so that it sits quite flush when I put these other bits of timber on. So wish me luck. so I've now built the whole frame. Bit of fiddling around, but we got there in the end. I'm now going to mount this onto these two sort of skids, I guess you'd call them. And then on the bottom of these I'm going to put a set of caster wheels just to make it a bit easier to move the whole thing around the workshop. Okay, so I've had a bit of a clean up. The frame's now finished. All I'm going to do now is flip this on its side and start to put the caster wheels on the base. I've got two different set of caster wheels, some straight, just square running ones, and some pivoting ones on a bearing. So I'm going to have two of the pivoting ones at the back and the straight running ones at the front, and the back ones are going to have a foot lock brake mechanism to stop the whole thing rolling away while I'm working on outboards. So I'm going to throw these on using some self-tapping screws to avoid a bit of drilling. It's one of the advantages to working with the LVLs, which are essentially a pine, laminated pine. Working with the uprights here reminded me how much work it is dealing with hardwood, so it's nice to avoid that and just be back into driving screw state in. So let's just throw these on and then we'll be done. It also helps to count your fasteners before you start. I've actually only had 12 fasteners left, so I'm short for the fourth wheel, so I guess see what I can find. We're back. Roofing screws? Oh well, all the weight's down, it'll be fine. Trust me. Okay, they're a bit longer. So this drill doesn't really have the power to have them self-tap all the way in, so I'm going to go grab a drill bit, just pre-drill them, use them anyway. Okay, so dries about as well as your average shopping trolley. So there we go. We're pretty much done. The wheels, if you're interested, we're rated at 140 kilos, so they're pretty strong. Presuming each one will take about a quarter of the weight, so they should be well and truly strong enough for any outboard I'm ever going to put on this. I may have a look once I put a motor on it whether I need to have a second brace or a diagonal of some description. But that's pretty much it. Just in case you're wondering about some of the measurements too, I'll just put a tape on it and give you a bit of a rundown. So, pretty much a metre for the uprights. The width of the transom I went 600mm. And the top of the transom from the ground, you've got a good sort of 1170, 1200 as well. And then my base plates I did as 1100. So I may get around to doing some detailed photos and posting some measurements at some stage. But if you've got any questions about that one, just give me a call and I can always run a tape over it and reply direct to you. So that's it. Next time you'll see this, hopefully it'll have a nice Yamaha in need of some repair, but that we can do some more videos on. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. As I said, feel free to let me know if you've got any questions and I'll answer them as best I can. And catch you next time. If you enjoyed this video and you're hoping to see more like it, please subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.